If you have ever bought a radio at an estate sale, you know the feeling. You are not just buying equipment, you are buying the last unread chapter of somebody's life. The logbook in the drawer, the frequency still set on the dial, the coffee ring on the desk mat, exactly where a right-handed operator would set a cup down between transmissions. Most of the time, the chapter is quiet, but sometimes you open the case and find something the previous owner never finished, and then it is not a purchase anymore, it is an assignment. You're listening to ham radio stories, where every signal hides a secret. Episode 12, The Undelivered Message. The radio was a Drake TR-4, and it came out of the estate of Raymond Kowalski, a silent key from 2 counties over, sold on a folding table in his driveway alongside his hand tools and his fishing gear. Tom Aldren bought it for $140 because a TR-4 in that condition is worth 3 times that, and because leaving it on the table felt wrong. The radio was clean inside, recapped at some point, cared for. But in the crystal socket, Tom found something that did not belong, a single plug-in crystal, and the frequency stamped on the holder was below the 80-meter band, outside the ham bands entirely. A frequency no amateur is licensed to use. A crystal is a small sliver of quartz that locks a transmitter to one exact frequency. You do not own one by accident. You own one because you needed to be on that frequency, precisely, and you needed to be there more than once. But there was a legal explanation, and Hank DeVries supplied it in about 4 seconds. Military affiliate radio system. Mars. For decades, licensed hams volunteered to handle traffic for the military on assigned frequencies just outside the ham bands, including, in the era before email, personal messages between soldiers overseas and their families at home. A Mars operator would have exactly this crystal. Therefore, the crystal was not a mystery. It was a service record. The mystery was in the logbook. Raymond Kowalski's logs went back to 1958, and they were beautiful, the tight, disciplined columns of a traffic handler. And in June of 1972, the log stopped being a log and became something else. Page after page of formal message traffic, dozens a day, marked with a single word of precedence. Welfare. June 1972, Hurricane Agnes. The storm came up the coast and stalled, and the rivers rose, and whole valleys in Pennsylvania and New York went underwater. Phone lines down across 3 states. And for about 2 weeks, one of the only ways a family outside the flood zone could learn whether their people were alive was a chain of amateur radio operators passing formal messages, one at a time, by voice and by code, town by town. Raymond Kowalski had been one of the links in that chain. The messages in the log were mostly outbound, marked delivered, closed out with a time and initials. Received, relayed, done. A machine of ordinary people moving 25 words at a time through a disaster. Except one. Message number 147, Welfare Precedents. Addressed to a woman named Dorothy Vance at a street address in Carter County. The text was recorded in the log in the careful block letters of a man who copied it exactly, because that is the entire ethic of traffic handling. You do not summarize, you do not improve. You deliver the message as sent. The message read, "House is gone, but all of us are safe. Staying with the Reinhardts. Do not come until the water is down. We will find you. Love, Mother." And in the delivery column, where every other message was closed out, Raymond had written one word, undeliverable. And below it, a note. Addressee, not at address. Neighbors say moved. Will retry. Then, in different ink, clearly written later, retried. No listing. Holding. Holding. He had held it for 54 years. Before we continue, a quick word. This story is fiction, but the traffic nets, the flood, the operators who passed messages through Hurricane Agnes, that part of history is real, and it runs deeper than one episode can go. That is what Ham Radio Wayback is for. It is a newsletter built on extensive research into actual events. Visit hamradiowayback.com, and every Friday you'll learn something I bet you didn't know. Something no one told you about the rich history of ham radio, the people behind it, or the technology we take for granted. That's hamradiowayback.com. Now back to message 147. Marcy Wheeler is the one who said it out loud at the club meeting after Tom read the log entry. She said a formal message does not expire. She said if Raymond was holding it, and Raymond is a silent key, then the traffic did not die with him. It just changed hands. She looked around the room. She said, "We are holding it now." Nobody argued. That is the thing about a room full of traffic handlers. The logic of the message is older than any of them. Finding Dorothy Vance took 11 days, and it was June Sato who did it, because tracking a person through old records is just direction finding with paper. Dorothy Vance had moved in the spring of 1972, weeks before the storm, which is why the message never found her. She had married in 1974 and changed her name. She had passed away in 2011. But her daughter lived 40 minutes from Carter County. Her name was Linda, and when Tom called her and explained slowly what he was holding, Linda was quiet for a long time. Then she said her mother had told her about the flood exactly once. Her mother had said that for 9 days she did not know if her family was alive because she had just moved and no one knew where she was. 9 days. The message that would have ended it had been sent on day 2. It had come within one link of her. And then it sat in a holding file for half a century because the world had no way to close the loop. The club delivered it properly, not a photocopy in the mail. Tom and Marcy drove out on a Saturday, and at Linda's kitchen table, Marcy read message number 147 aloud, word for word, the way it was logged, the way it was meant to be heard. "House is gone, but all of us are safe. We will find you. Love, Mother." Linda held the printed radiogram with both hands. She said her grandmother had died when Linda was 6, and she had nothing in her grandmother's voice. Now she had 25 words. She said it was strange. It felt like the message was arriving on time, like it had just taken the long way. Here is what Marcy said on the drive home, and it is the closest thing this hobby has to a creed. She said people think the radio is the impressive part. The radio is the easy part. The impressive part is that a man kept a slip of paper in a holding file for 54 years because he had accepted traffic and never delivered it. And that debt sat in his logbook until strangers he never met paid it for him. Nobody in that chain is carrying it anymore. The message is closed. The log balances. The TR-4 sits in Tom's shack now, restored, on the air. He left the Mars crystal in the socket. It transmits nothing. It is just there, the way a flag is there. And one more thing. While June was researching Dorothy Vance, she left a scanner running in her office, logging activity, habit. On 4 separate nights, at almost exactly 2 in the morning, it captured the same thing she heard back in the spring. A data burst on 146.550 under a second-long format unknown. She has started keeping a file on it. The file has a lot of timestamps and no answers. Raymond Kowalski held a message for 54 years waiting for an address. June is starting to wonder what exactly she is holding.
This has been Ham Radio Stories.
Original radio mysteries inspired by the world of amateur radio. Until next time, keep the volume up and listen just above the noise.